are going to now introduce one of our 262 sisters as well, who has been on the stage before. And I have to say, it's super cool. It's super cool when we get to see each other grow, right? So we all started out however long ago doing our thing. And not only has the project grown, but we've grown and we've got to watch each other grow, right? The conversation, I always say that the 262 sisters are the ones in the kitchen at the dinner party. And we're like, what do you need? What's going on? What's this? What's that? Oh my gosh, I saw you do that. And Grace, you certainly, I mean, Grace, she's a communication strategist for the shy woman, for the shy woman. And sometimes when people meet Grace, I love this because they're like, oh, she's kind of shy and she works with shy women. I go, she ain't shy. Don't misinterpret the quiet, powerful ones. We have seen this woman rise and come up. She spoke on her. I was like, oh, look at you go. And she continues to speak, and every time you get shivers. It's amazing. She is an international best-selling author. She is a well-known expert on communication for the shy businesswoman. So even businesswomen that are talking kind of like I am today, there's probably an area in your life that you're kind of shy at, right? So you don't have to be quiet to be shy. Does everyone know what I mean by that? I mean, that's this woman's specialty. Okay, so she's going to talk about, guess what? Owning your voice, being bold, and being you. Okay, the music she's listening to right now is Only Happy When It Rains, and the band's name is Garbage. You can talk to her about that later. And I love this, and so does obviously, my son, who's a keychain producer, but she is an avid keychain collector. So if you find a keychain somewhere at a super cool garage sale, get her address and send it to her. The beautiful prizes that she has given is she is going to do for one person that listens to win, she's going to do a $600 gift of a human design report and a 60-minute quantum level reprogramming. You got to inquire about what that is, whether you win or don't win. And she is going to give everyone a super cool quiz. It's a communication quiz on knowing your style. And that's got to be helpful. That's got to be helpful. So, Miss Grace, woohoo, hands up, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Deb. And gosh, following up after Lauren, Yvonne, and hearing Kathleen, I mean, powerful woman here, right? Just super powerful. Leslie, love you, I always say you're like my idol, kind of following you, your path and everything. So like you said, Deb, we are growing, and each time you ladies are helping me grow and helping me to expand. So love you guys.
Awesome. Look at outside. Tell us, what is it like? We all have our thing, and sometimes people are afraid to niche. So I am going to give you credit. You're not just a communication coach, but it's hard to niche, right? Come on, who's an entrepreneur that would almost make them like run to a coach? Like, what do you mean I'm only going to talk about one thing? But you have really niched. Why did you choose to focus your work on shy women?
Yes, well, a lot of the times we choose our own avatar, and we choose the avatar that is reflecting ourselves. And so I grew up, in a Western culture with my traditional Chinese parents. And, there's this part where my parents were like going, you're a girl, you have to be quiet. You're not supposed to play with cars. You're not supposed to play with, rambunctious, loud toys and what have you. And over time, I was told, hey, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a lawyer, or you're going to be an accountant. Because again, Asian parents, what do they want? They want their kids to have that career that makes money. And I wasn't into being a doctor or lawyer or, an accountant. I really didn't know what I wanted to be, but I just knew that that wasn't for me. And over time, I just, was told, that you have to, your duty as our daughter is to follow our rules and follow our commands. I don't know if some of you might have grown up in that environment where you're told, like, you're just told to follow what other people tell you to do, and you're supposed to keep quiet. And the thing is that like you said, I may look like I'm shy, but I'm not. Those of you who know me knows I got a great sense of humor. I like to have fun and all that, but I was suppressed. And then over time, it became like, I had to take that persona. And so it's like I'm being a covert, shy person when I'm not. And it's just, so it's like about, let's embrace who we are, embrace our worth, and let's finally find that voice in us, find that pearl in us, and just let it shine. And so that's where I said, I want to help other women who are like me, who feel like they can't say anything, but they have such great passion and such great message that they want to share. And it's just like, you know what? Let's help you to unleash that. Like you said, Deb, I'm woman, hear me roar.
Well, I know that you listened to the music this morning. That is awesome. That is so awesome. And even when you said the word unleash, I noticed Dharma took a look, right? It's like, ooh, you could hear it and you could feel it. Congratulations, because look at it, sometimes we talk about different cultures, different ways of being, children to be seen from not heard is some culture. Sometimes in school, they're like, I remember sitting in a class and someone at the front goes, okay, I just want to know who wants to be a teacher, a stewardess, or a secretary. Like they were given us, we had three choices, but those were choices made for us. And I, of course, picked stewardess. Because that was like it's the closest thing to freedom. But so sometimes it's not necessarily external, sometimes it's internal, sometimes it's family, sometimes it's global. We don't know what that is, right? But I know that if you had to break out of that, it took some personal development work. So I want to say congratulations. That's beacon minded for sure. What is stagnant communication syndrome? What is that? You talk about that, I'm like, ooh, that's some words, girl. What is that?
Yeah, so I like to make this analogy. If you ever looked at stagnant water, right? A stagnant water that where the water just stays there, not flowing and everything, and over time it looks murky, it's muddy, and it's like there's a stink to it. It's just like not flowing. And that can happen to our communication because, we have our own story, we have traumas, we have experiences, and what have you. And in our mind, we're saying things that make us stuck. Deb, you talk about top performance, right? But there's got to be that mindset to go into that top performance. And if you're saying something like, I don't think I can be there, because look at how all these other people are making it around the stages. I haven't even done a stage, or I can't participate. Well, that is like that story, right? And then that makes you, over time, that makes you stuck. And then it makes you play that theme and you want to get out of it, but you can't. And then it makes it so like you're stagnant, you're in that place. And it can make you feel like that energy feels murky. It feels like little face, it's stinky, right? I mean, it's just that stinky energy. So it's all about, trying to then, okay, how do we overcome that, right? Well, we overcome that, and Yvonne made a good point, is by our words, right? Because here's the thing, communication has energy. Our words have energy, and we need to reframe. And when we reframe the words, when we reframe our thoughts and what have you, then it starts to open up, and then the flow starts to happen, and we can get out of that pattern. And then when we get out of that pattern, we're no longer in that stagnant feeling. And so that's why I say, we can overcome that stagnant communication, right? It's
Yeah, no, I love how you explain it clearly in communication. So so it lands very easily. We understand. Thank you for that. I always say, I mean, look at all of us on here are examples. We're doing something, right? I love how you said you watch Leslie. So Leslie, you better behave. But we are examples. We learn from each other. Can you and I think we also learn from story. I mean, Lauren talked about that, Adele talked about that, Kathy talked about that. We talk a lot about learning from other people's stories. Is there an example where tell us about someone who came, like a client experience, or someone who came and what was that process they had to go through to, I imagine, achieve a goal they wanted to achieve?
right. So one of the things we have to overcome ourselves is the idea of being perfect or having the perfection. Like even when we're speaking on stage or we're sharing something, we're like, oh, I forgot to say something, or I don't want to forget about doing something, or I want to show up like the best way possible. Yes, but it may not be the most perfect way possible, but we want to make sure that, oh, we look so good, that we're perfect and all this other stuff. And one of my clients, she was going to give a presentation and she was so worried about making it perfect that she wasn't sharing it from her heart. And so then you don't feel that presentation. You don't feel her story. You know, we tell story, but it's not just like once upon a time, or, you know, I went to such and such a place, right? It's like, hey, did I tell you about such and such a place? And then, you know, if you know, like if you've you know, probably traveled, right? And then you probably know about the Eiffel Tower, right? How is it if you were just to say, yeah, I took the train, we stopped at Eiffel Tower, there are steps up there, and there's a great view of all of Paris. I mean, you're not gonna want to go, right? And but the thing was is that you're trying to be so perfect in giving the details that there's no heart to it. And so one of the things is, you know, I was talking to my client about was, don't worry so much about all of the delivery, or, you know, making sure that everything is perfect, or you get all the words out and all the message. It's more important about sharing enough of the message where the person can feel it, right? And get the most out of what you're saying. So, you know, like the Paris, right? If you just say, well, you know, we went up to the top part of Paris and guess what we saw? It was such a clear view. We could see all the magnificent buildings, and, you know, there was like all these French people, and, you know, I got to practice my French, you know, and all this other great stuff. And then it makes you like go, wow, right? And there's that wow factor. And so one of the things I tell my clients when I work with them is, you know, like my thing is communication is energy. And so it's not just about just the words, but you really want the person to feel. And I think that's what everybody's getting in the summit, is the feeling all these from these speakers. You know, we hear the message, but we're also feeling the message that these speakers are sharing in their story. And that is the key.
That's beautiful. That's so well said. And I appreciate that. And I think we all do. The reminder of not having to be perfect, and that when you do, it can take away a little bit because you're up here in your head, right? You're not in your body. I want to make sure I say that, or, you know, make sure I get everything out. Sometimes it's not about getting everything out. Sometimes it's about getting a message out, getting it so that it lands. But I think we all, you know, like she obviously was about to speak and say something. I think we all probably have that a little bit before we hit the stage. What are we going to say, rehearse, and what have you? But I really like how you had them, you know, had her drop into the message, not necessarily saying it perfectly. I'm sure we were all kind of nodding on the inside on that one. I know I was. Thank you very much. So what is one thing that you recommend people to do to become more successful in our communication? Is there something else that you recommend that we do?
Yeah, treat yourself as your own best friend. Catch yourself of what you are saying to yourself. So many times we give other people compliments. Oh, I love that dress on you. But then when we look ourselves in the mirror, what do we say? Oh my gosh, I can't believe my hair is looking like this. I can't do anything about my hair. Or, oh, this doesn't look so good on me, you know, what have you, right? But we don't tell our friends and say, hey, you need to fix your hair, or, you know, this doesn't look good. We just say, wow, we pick out something that we really love or we really like about what the person is doing or saying or wearing or whatever it is, right? But when it comes to us, we tend to criticize ourselves. And so, you know, we are our own best friends. You know, we all have a best friend, and our best friend is ourselves. So we need to pay more attention, because if we're talking about the words and what have you, then pay attention to the words, what you're saying to yourself. And if things don't go right the way you want it, you don't knock yourself down. You wouldn't knock yourself, you wouldn't knock your friends down, right? So don't knock yourself down. Just say, okay, this didn't work, but next time I know I can do this better.
Right on. Well, I love that. You touched on that. Kathleen touched on that when people are hesitant about going into the book. Like, what am I going to say and who's going to read it and all the things. And sometimes, and like you said, people, you worry because of something in the future, like someone's going to say this, or it's going to sound like this, or it's going to look like this. And just, I love that you both talked about not being perfect and being good to yourself in your own different way and being brave enough, to what are we here doing? We're showing up, standing up and speaking up, even sometimes for people being on an event like this and having their camera off. Ooh, you can see my kitchen. There's some plates. I remember one time, I don't know if you don't remember, Kathleen, you probably do. There was someone vacuuming. I was like, right on, like right on. Like they had their camera on and they were vacuuming. I was like, that person's got some esteem, right? They were like, da, 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 thank God. And I just thought, right on, right on. So, and I think that's what happens too when we do brave up, if you get on the stage, if you get in the book, if you come on here, if you take the camera off because, you were up late last night or whatever, you get people cheer you on, right? They cheer you on. I know we're cheering you on. Look, I know because I saw them and they're super cool. Whoever comes to Vancouver, you may get a beautiful card deck that this woman, you are quirky. I saw those cards and I was like, those are not cards. Like it's a deck. It was not what I expected. So Grace has these super cards. I know we're not going to talk about that a lot, but you can put that in the chat, but she's going to be gifting that in the swag for the big August 9th night. But the word, so anyways, you can if you want to, because they're super fun and super cool and super quirky. But the word on the street is you're also, look at this, you're also completing your book. So let me share a little bit about that, my friend.
Yes, so I am in the process of writing my book. It's called Pearl of Grace Path. So it's all about embodying yourself, embodying your worth, embodying who you are, so that you can communicate, so you can share your voice, share your message, share your passion with the world. Because listen, you're a pearl and you're not meant to be in that little oyster or that clam, you're meant to have that shell open up and that pearl to shine through and just be there. And that's and that's all of you, all of us, that we're not meant to be in that little shell. We're meant to have it open up and we're meant to shine on stage and shine out in the world.
Oh, right on. And I love that because it's the book that I automatically think that my niece needs because, well, she's my niece, so clearly she's younger. But also as we move up and push ourselves through those different levels of life or different levels of exposure or what have you. Before we go into your gift that you're giving away, I'm going to ask Leslie, my co-host, for the final co-hosting. Please comment, share. What do you think?
Oh my gosh, I love Grace. Grace
Yeah.
and me started kind of this same journey together. But what really got me was the end when she said, you're a pearl, and you'll open up. And I was like, we have watched Grace do that. She is a dynamo. I remember the first summer you were on and very nervous, right? Totally cool. But now, like your confidence, stepping into your power, letting your inner pearl shine, if you will. Just so proud of you. So excited to see all the things that are coming for you, the book and everything. So I just love Grace.
Well, thank you, Leslie. I love you. You know that I said that I'm following you, and I said you're like my mom.
I know. I'm like looking behind me. Do I have a stalker? No.
Yeah. I have a funny feeling if you're following her, we're going to be seeing you in September at the Emmys with your book. You're going to follow her. Maybe you guys will be there together. But that would be so cool. I love that. So look, we're going to